The linguistic would refer language register as tenor, tone, or style. So, when we say tenor, it is himig or diwa in Tagalog. So, tenor refers to the participants in a discourse, their relationships to each other, and their purposes. Then the tone. Tone, this is the way a person speak to someone. Tone means tono. Tono in Tagalog. Kung baga, ito yung tono ng pananalita natin. Kung paano tayo makikipag-usap sa ibang tao. Or the way we are communicating to others. So, halimbawa sa tono. Pag tayo ay galit, so, yung tono ng pananalita natin ay pasigaw kasi tayo ay galit. So, that's the tone of our voice kung tayo ay galit, pasigaw. It is how we use our voice to get our point across. Then, the style. So, every person has a unique communication style. So, lahat tayo ay may iba't ibang estilo ng pakikipag-communicate or pakikipag-usap sa ibang tao. There are basic communication style. One of the basic communication style is the passive or pasibo in Tagalog. When we say passive, it is a style in which individuals have developed a pattern of avoiding expressing their opinions or feelings. Then, one of the style also is aggressive or agresibo in Tagalog. It is a style in which individuals express their feelings and opinion and advocate for their needs in a way that violates the right of others. Yung pag-express mo ng feelings mo sa ibang tao or ng mga opinions mo na hindi mo muna iniisip kung ikaw ba ay nakakasakit na ng ibang tao or may naapakan ka ng tao. Kung baga, walang respeto o walang paninindigan. Salita ng salita, basta maipahayag lang kung ano yung opinions mo or feelings without thinking. Without thinking sa nararamdaman ng iyong kausap or sa mga taong nakakasalamuha mo. Then, assertive. When we say assertive, may paninindigan. Kung baga, yung assertive is the opposite of aggressive, which means expressing your point of view in a way that is clear and direct while still respecting others. So, the way na nag-express ka or ipinapahiwatig mo yung feelings mo or the point of view in a way na you're thinking at ipinapahiwatig mo sa kanila ng may respeto. Kung baga, nagsasalita ka ng mga opinions mo or yung feelings mo while still respecting others. So, let's continue. The register is defined as the way a speaker uses language differently and different of voice. So, the way na nagko-communicate tayo sa ibang tao, nakikipag-communicate, may iba't ibang tono of a different voice. It depends kung paano tayo, it depends on how we talk to them. Even your body language. So while nagsasalita ka na with actions, so mas naiintindihan ng yung kausap o yung yung taong nakakasalamuha mo. Then You probably behave very differently chatting with a friend than you would at a formal dinner party or during a job interview. So, almost talaga pag you are in parties or during a job interviews, we are using the formal language. Kasi yung informal language, um, um, more on casual when we are communicating with friends or family either in writing or conversation. Minsan talaga nagagamit natin yung informal kung tayo nakikipag-usap sa mga kaibigan natin or sa kapamilya natin. Minsan sa bahay natin to nagagamit kapag nakikipag-usap tayo sa kanila, sa mga friends at family natin. Then, these variations and formality, also called stylistic variation, are known as register in linguistics. They are determined by such factors as social occasion, context, purpose, and audience.
Types of register in linguistic. Frozen or static register. This style of communication rarely or never changes. It is frozen in time and contains the pledge of allegiance, the Lord's Prayer, the preamble of as constitution, the alma mater, a bibliographic reference law. Example, including everything from academic essay to wedding vote. Second is formal register. This language is used formal sitting and is one-way nature. This use of language usually follows a commonly accepted format. It is usually impersonal and formal. Formal writing is probably the most difficult type of writing. It is a personal, meaning it is not writing for a specific person and it is writing without emotion. Example, biblical verse, prayer, the knowledge of allegiance, and so forth.
Number 3. Consultative register. This is a standard form of communication. Users engage in mutually accepted structure of communication. It is formal and societal expectation accompany the users of this speech. Number 4. Casual register. This is informal language used by peers and friends. Slang, vulgarities, and colloquialism are normal. Number 5. Intimate register. This communication is private. It is reserved for close family members or intimate people, husband, wife, boyfriend, and girlfriend, siblings, parent, and children.
Language register is the level and style in writing. So we use different language registers for different types of writing, just as like we speak differently to different people. So dili man jud ta mistorya sa ato presidente sa Pilipinas the same way na mistorya ta sa ato family and friends. So for example, to our friends that been come visit in our town, we actually say, "Hey, what's up? It's awesome that you come visit," with comfortable tone. However, in our president, we probably say, "Good morning, Mr. President. We appreciate your visit." So that's the example of how we speak formally and casually. But aside from that, speaking, language register is also important in writing. Let's look closely at the 3 most common language registers used in English language. First, formal language register is probably the most difficult type of writing. It is impersonal, meaning it is not written for a specific person and is written without emotion. So this kind of formal register is more appropriate for professional writing and letters through our instruction or even in our superior. The formal register includes essay, reports, official speeches, announcements, professional emails, and there are also many rules for writing informal writing. but I will only discuss some of the most common rules here. The number one, we will not be using contractions. Contractions are not usually used in formal writing, even though they are very common in spoken English. Say for example, in formal writing we should use cannot instead of can't, have not instead of haven't, will not instead of won't, could not instead of couldn't. But these are just only a few examples of contraction. Additionally, contractions can be used if we are quoting someone's. Say for example, 2/3 of my 8th grade students can't read at grade level. So the professor stated, I can use can't because I am quoting someone's. Number 2, to avoid using too much passive voice. In formal writing, it is better to use an active voice. Say for example, in passive sentence, the bone was eaten by the dog. So in active sentence, it will change into the dog ate the bone. Number 3, we don't need to start sentence with words like and, so, but, also. So here are some good transitions, word and phrases to use in formal writing. Example, to start with, nevertheless, the least, additionally, as a result of. So those phrases are also good in essay. We'll move to the second language register, which is the informal. The informal register, also called casual or intimate, is conversational and appropriate when writing to friends and people we know very well. However, informal writing is written in the way we take to our friends and family. We use informal writing when we are writing to someone we know, like what I said very well. Let's say for example, personal email, through chat messenger, blogs, or diaries. On the other hand, neutral register is non-emotional and stick to the fact. It is most appropriate for technical writings. Neutral writing is not necessarily formal or informal. It is not usually positive or negative. A neutral register is used to deliver facts. For instance, writing in the natural language register includes reviews, articles, some essay if we make essay, technical writing. So these were the only few types of language register.
Linguistic resources. Linguistic resources are required for the creation of grammars, the implementation of symbolic techniques, and the training of machine learning modules. The word corpus means body in Latin, but it may also be construed as a collection of writings when employed as a data source in linguistics.
A linguistic description that begins with a collection of linguistic data, such as written text or a transcription of recorded voice. Linguistic resources also used to present oneself as a specific type of person, to project an attitude or stance, to influence the flow of conversation and ideas.
Language is the most significant aspect which makes us different from all other species. What is L1? L1 is defined as a first language, mother tongue, native tongue, or native language, and it is a natural part of a person's everyday life as well as one of the most important aspects of human culture. The first language is learned at a young age, and it comes naturally and effortlessly to everyone. We cannot choose our first language because it is determined by our ancestors' legacy or birthright. This is the language that was learned during childhood prior to puberty and is the language that a given person uses and feels most comfortable with. In short, first languages are generally retained throughout one's life. We may learn other languages, but our first language will remain in our minds and hearts. That will forever with us and will never be forgotten. L2. A second language is any language that a person uses other than a first or native language. Contemporary linguists and educators commonly use the term L1 to refer to a first or native language, and the term L2 to refer to a second language or a foreign language that being studied. Using a second language is a commonplace activity because there are only few places in the world where only one language is used. Learning a second language necessitates deliberate effort and time. L2s are typically acquired after puberty rather than during infancy. We frequently learn a second language in school, classrooms, online tutorials, and by listening to others speak in a different linguistic environment or in a foreign country. Individuals can learn a second language in a variety of ways. The process of learning a second language demands a significant amount of effort in order to become acquainted with grammar rules, sentence structure, pronunciation, vocabulary, and a variety of other concepts. In other words, it is easier to learn L1 than L2 because L2 is more difficult and complex compared to L1.
Universal grammar in linguistics. Universal grammar is a theory in linguistics usually credited to Noam Chomsky, which suggests that the ability to learn grammar is built into the human brain from birth regardless of language. Chomsky and his followers no longer use the term lad, but refer to the child's innate endowment as a universal grammar. This theory in linguistics proposing that the ability to learn grammar is hardwired into the brain, which means that this linguistic ability manifests itself without being taught, and it automatically appears during the development regardless on whether it is present at birth or not. Universal grammar is the system of categories, operations, and principles shared by all human languages and considered to be innate. This is one way to explain how humans acquire language. If the brain is already primed to understand certain sentence structures, it explains how children can understand and speak sentences that they've never heard before, regardless of where or how they are raised.